What if I told you there was a wife even Henry VIII feared? A woman so cunning her name was deliberately scraped from royal records. Her portraits destroyed. Her tomb left unmarked. For centuries, historians dismissed her as a rumor meant to scare servants into obedience. But recently surfaced letters hint at something uglier. A queen whose love curdled into obsession, whose secrets could have snapped the Tudor throne in half. This is not the tale of the wives you already know. This is the one history buried, and for a reason. Stay until the end, because her story does not end with her death. It begins there. And before you decide this is just a ghost story, ask yourself one question. Why would a court that documented every feast, every birth, every insult, leave a hole shaped like a queen? The palace did not welcome her. It loomed like a maze of gold and gloom, heavy with the breath of centuries. Corridors seemed to listen. Portraits of queens smiled too sweetly, their painted eyes dimmed by candle smoke, as if even art learned to lie for survival. From her carriage she saw London's torches flicker in fog like dying stars. People cheered her name that night, though most had no idea who she truly was. They had watched too many brides pass through those gates to believe any would last. Inside, beeswax sweetness mixed with the rot of old secrets. Courtiers bowed low, smiles polished, eyes weighing her worth. Henry watched from the dais, wrapped in crimson, gaze steady, hungry, calculating, and in that moment the court pretended this was joy. Not a sentence with ribbons tied around it. She curtsied, gown whispering across stone like a soft warning. The orchestra resumed, and for a heartbeat the court acted human again. Yet behind every toast and jeweled compliment, danger stirred. Henry's moods were a kingdom of their own, shifting without warning, crushing people the way tides crush sandcastles. That night, in her new chamber, she stared out at snow gathering on the parapets. The city slept, unaware of the quiet storm now sealed behind palace walls. Her maid lit a single candle, and in the mirror she caught herself, young, serene, unprepared. But beneath that calm, something moved. A flicker of instinct that told her beauty was no shield and affection was not protection. Somewhere down the corridor, a door closed softly. Footsteps faded. She turned, half expecting someone to be standing there. The room was empty. Only the tapestry shifted. Stirred by a draft that felt too much like breath, she steadied the candle. But the flame bent toward her as if pulled by a presence. In that small, trembling light, she understood something most brides learn too late. The palace was alive. It watched. It remembered. It devoured. And before sleep took her, she whispered words no clerk would ever record. Let them forget me. Before the palace walls swallowed her name, she came from a quieter world, where meadows bled into mist and the air smelled faintly of iron and lilies. Her father held a modest title and an immense ambition, the kind of man who smiled at opportunity but rarely at his children. Her mother taught her the art of silence, the kind that opens doors when words cannot. And while other girls practiced embroidery, she studied faces, the hesitation in a glance, the false warmth in a smile. She learned early that charm is currency, and innocence can be forged like steel. When Henry's envoys arrived, her household erupted as if heaven itself had knocked. Silver was polished that had long forgotten its shine. Prayers were offered with shaking hands. Letters flew like panicked birds. She watched it all with stillness that unsettled even the servants. She knew the summons meant she could never return unchanged. Her first meeting with the king was not a poet's fantasy. No thunderstruck silence. No angels singing. Just two people who recognized something familiar in one another. The hunger for significance. Henry spoke gently. Words measured. Smile rehearsed. She answered with poise. Neither flattered nor afraid. That composure hooked him. She was the calm after his tempests, the mirror that reflected his grandeur without question. Rumor spread quickly, as it always did. Some said she bewitched him with one glance. Others whispered she reminded him of someone he had lost, but to her, love was a story for poets. She sought survival. If affection came, it would be a luxury. Safety was the real dream. And dreams were the first thing the palace loved to steal. The wedding unfolded like a vision painted on glass, brilliant, fragile, destined to crack. Abbey bells tolled until the air itself vibrated. London overflowed with bodies cheering for love. Though everyone knew this ceremony was not about devotion, it was about control. She arrived veiled in white, so fine it shimmered like frost. Incense hung heavy, mingling with candle smoke. The vows, the ring, the gaze that met hers like a brand pressed to skin. Henry's hand on hers felt not like warmth, but weight. For the spectators, it was perfection. A king redeemed. A bride radiant, but she noticed faces turned away. Lips tightening, eyes refusing to meet hers. Not ghosts, not specters, but living memories of women who had stood there before her. That night, music played until fingers trembled. Cups overflowed. Dancers twirled beneath chandeliers, dripping wax like slow tears. Alone later, she removed her crown and felt its impression still pressed into her skin. In the mirror, she saw not a bride, but a stranger with a smile too practiced. She whispered to her reflection, "The play begins." The first weeks of queenship blurred into ceremony and calculation. Each day brought another audience, another performance. Laughter rippled across banquet tables, but beneath the glitter, unease simmered. Conversations halted when she entered, then resumed half a beat too late. She began to read the court's silent code. Henry's affection came in bursts, extravagant gifts, sudden tenderness, then long absences filled with unexplained silences. Once she believed she could steady him, now she understood no one truly could. At a feast, a foreign ambassador toasted her beauty. Henry smiled too widely. The hall went quiet. She met the king's gaze and felt something chilling in it, almost pitying. Later, she lingered in the candlelit hall, running her fingers along the table's edge. Power, she thought, always left scars, even on wood. A lady-in-waiting appeared pale and hesitant and whispered, "Be careful of those who smile too much. If you watch and ask." The queen gave a small nod. "I already am." That week, a letter went missing. A servant was dismissed without cause. A door closed when she approached. At night, faint music drifted from chambers where she was not invited. Someone wanted her to feel watched, and someone wanted her to break. She began sleeping with the curtains drawn, as if fabric could stop eyes. One morning, she found a wilted rose placed on her pillow. No note, no explanation. Petals nearly black, stem wet as if freshly cut. She burned it before dawn, but the smell of it stayed. Sweet and rotten at the same time, the palace had turned into a masquerade. The laughter at supper no longer sounded like mirth. It sounded like people practicing joy while holding their breath. And when Henry's hand brushed hers at the table, she felt no love, only warning. Morning light slid across her floor in thin streaks like knife edges. Servants moved quietly, careful not to disturb her, polishing mirrors she no longer trusted. Even her reflection looked hollow behind the eyes. The crown had not merely adorned her, it had altered her. She learned quickly that a queen is not a woman. A queen is a symbol wearing a heartbeat. Every word carried consequences. Every silence bred suspicion. Somewhere between duty and devotion, something in her began to fracture. And in that fracture, something colder began to grow. Henry visited when it suited him, leaving behind empty compliments and colder nights. In his absence, she wandered galleries lined with portraits of his past loves. Pale, perfect, haunted. The painters captured beauty, but never dared paint fear.